Hey there travellers, welcome back to the channel. You know, there are some countries that just stop you in your tracks the moment you see them, and Norway is absolutely one of those places. We're talking about a country where the landscape looks like it was designed by someone who had absolutely no interest in being subtle. Fjords that plunge thousands of feet into glittering water, mountains that disappear into the clouds, and a quality of light that photographers travel from all over the world just to capture. But Norway isn't just about scenery, though trust me, the scenery alone would be worth the trip. It's a country with Viking heritage running through its veins, a fascinating modern culture built on equality and sustainability, and coastal towns so charming you'll be checking property prices before you leave. So let's get into it. The top 10 places you absolutely have to visit in Norway. 10 Ålesund. We're kicking things off in Ålesund, and if you haven't heard of this place, you're in for a treat. Ålesund sits on a cluster of islands jutting out into the Norwegian Sea, and it might just be the most architecturally distinctive town in the whole country. The reason? In 1904, almost the entire town burned to the ground in a single night. What rose from the ashes was a remarkable collection of Art Nouveau buildings, all built at the same time, in the same style, which gives Ålesund this incredibly cohesive, almost dreamlike look. Climb the 418 steps up to the Axla viewpoint, and you'll get one of the most spectacular views in Norway. The town spread below you across its islands, the fjord stretching out behind it, and on a clear day, snow-capped peaks in every direction. Ålesund is also the gateway to the Geiranger Fjord, one of the most famous fjords in all of Norway, so it makes a brilliant base for exploring the wider region. 9. The Lofoten Islands. Next, we're heading somewhere that genuinely looks like it shouldn't exist in real life, the Lofoten Islands. This dramatic archipelago sits above the Arctic Circle, and yet somehow, thanks to the Gulf Stream, it enjoys a surprisingly mild climate. What it doesn't have is a subtle landscape. Enormous jagged mountains rise almost vertically out of the sea, their reflections shimmering in fjords of impossibly clear turquoise water. The islands are dotted with traditional red and yellow fishing villages, called råbrøer, that cling to the rocks at the water's edge. Rein and Henningsvær are two of the most beautiful, and both look like they've been lifted straight from a painting. The Lofoten Islands are also one of the best places in Norway to see the northern lights during winter, and in summer you get the midnight sun, that extraordinary phenomenon where the sun simply doesn't set. Either way, you're not sleeping much, but you absolutely won't mind. 8. Tromsø. Speaking of the northern lights, at number 8 we have Tromsø, which is widely regarded as one of the best places on earth to see them. Sitting deep inside the Arctic Circle, Tromsø is the largest city in northern Norway, and it's a fantastic base for chasing the aurora borealis between November and March. But Tromsø is a genuinely great city in its own right, not just a launching pad for Northern Lights tours. The Arctic Cathedral, with its striking triangular glass facade, is one of the most iconic modern buildings in Norway. The city has a lively bar scene, a strong cafe culture, and a fascinating Arctic history that you can explore at the Polar Museum. In summer, swap the aurora for the midnight sun and take a cable car up Storsteinen Mountain for panoramic views over the city and the Arctic landscape stretching to the horizon. Tromsø punches way above its weight for a city of its size. 7. The Sognefjord. At number 7 we have the Sognefjord, king of Norwegian fjords. At over 200 kilometers long and more than 1,300 meters deep in places, it is the longest and deepest fjord in Norway and one of the most awe-inspiring natural features in Europe. The scale of it is almost impossible to take in. You're on a boat and there are sheer cliff walls rising 1,000 meters on either side of you. It's the kind of thing that makes you feel very small in the best possible way. The Norway Fjord, a narrow branch of the Sognefjord, is so spectacular that it's been designated a UNESCO World Heritage Site. A boat trip through its narrow channel with waterfalls cascading from the cliffs above is genuinely one of the great travel experiences in the world. The village of Flåm at the end of the fjord is the starting point for the famous Flåm Railway, one of the steepest and most scenic railway journeys in Europe, climbing up through waterfalls and mountain scenery that will have your jaw on the floor the entire way. 6. Stavanger. Coming in at number 6 is Stavanger, a city that somehow manages to be charming, historic, and internationally connected all at once. Stavanger's old town is a beautifully preserved collection of white wooden houses that date back to the 18th and 19th centuries. And wandering through those narrow streets feels genuinely timeless. But the real reason most visitors come to Stavanger is what's just outside it, specifically Preikestolen. This flat-topped cliff rising 604 meters above the Leis Fjord is one of the most iconic viewpoints in Norway, and the 2-hour hike to reach it is absolutely worth every step. Standing on the edge and looking straight down to the fjord below is one of those experiences that stays with you for years. Not far away is Kjeragbolten, a boulder wedged in a mountain crevice above the same fjord, and for the brave among you, you can stand on it. The drop either side is approximately 1,000 meters. Absolutely not for the faint-hearted and absolutely unforgettable. 5. The Norwegian scenic routes. At number 5, I'm doing something slightly different. Instead of a single place, I want to talk about the Norwegian scenic routes. Norway has designated 18 stretches of road across the country as official scenic routes, and driving them is one of the great road trip experiences in the world. The Atlantic Ocean Road, a series of bridges and causeways connecting a string of islands off the west coast, has been called the most beautiful drive in the world, and it's hard to argue. During storms, waves crash over the road itself, making it dramatic in a very different way. The Trollstigen mountain road twists up impossibly steep switchbacks through a landscape of waterfalls and peaks, and the Hardangerfjord route offers fjord scenery at its most impossibly photogenic. Renting a car and picking your own route through Norway is one of the most rewarding ways to experience this country. Every bend in the road brings something that makes you want to pull over, get out, and just stand there for a while. 4. Hardangerfjord. At number 4, we have the Hardangerfjord, the second longest fjord in Norway, and many people argue, the most beautiful. What sets Hardanger apart from other fjords is the contrast of its landscapes. In spring, the entire fjord is surrounded by fruit trees in full blossom, thousands of apple, cherry and pear trees turning the hillsides pink and white, and it's one of the most gorgeous natural spectacles in all of Scandinavia. In summer, the same hillsides are lush and green, with waterfalls like Vøringsfossen, one of Norway's most famous, thundering down from the plateau above. In autumn, the colours are extraordinary, and in winter, the fjord takes on a still, icy beauty that feels completely otherworldly. The Hardangervidda Plateau above the fjord is Norway's largest national park and a wonderful place for hiking and cross-country skiing, while the waterside towns of Ulvik and Eidfjord are absolutely charming. 3. Bergen. At number 3, Bergen, Norway's second city, and arguably its most charming. Bergen sits between 7 mountains on the western coast, and the city has a warmth and personality that surprises a lot of first-time visitors who might expect a typical Scandinavian city to feel a little cool and reserved. The Briggen Wharf, a row of colourful wooden buildings lining the harbour that date back to the 14th century, is a UNESCO World Heritage Site and the postcard image of Bergen. It's gorgeous, and the maze of narrow alleyways behind the facades is full of independent shops, galleries and little cafes to explore. Take the Fløibanen funicular up to the top of Mount Fløyen for the classic Bergen panorama, city and harbour below, mountains and fjords all around. The fish market at the harbour is one of the best in Norway. Grab some freshly cooked shrimp and eat them overlooking the water. Bergen also gets a lot of rain. The locals are very honest about this, but as they say there's no such thing as bad weather, only bad clothing. 2. The fjords of Western Norway. Coming in at number 2, and look, I know we've already visited some fjords, but Western Norway as a whole deserves its own entry because the concentration of dramatic scenery here is simply unmatched anywhere in the world. The UNESCO-listed fjord landscape of Western Norway, taking in Geirangerfjord, Nærøyfjord, and everything in between, is one of the planet's truly great natural wonders. Geirangerfjord in particular is breathtaking. The Seven Sisters waterfall, 7 individual streams cascading down the cliff face into the fjord, is one of the most iconic sights in Norway. The tiny village of Geiranger at the end of the fjord is surrounded on all sides by walls of rock and water, and cruise ships that sail in here look genuinely tiny against the scale of the landscape. Kayaking through these fjords, taking a fjord cruise, or hiking to viewpoints above them, however you choose to experience it, this is landscape that redefines what you thought natural beauty could look like. 1. Oslo. And at number 1, Oslo. I know some people might expect the Norwegian capital to be a little stiff or corporate, but Oslo has quietly become one of the most genuinely exciting cities in Europe, and visitors who give it proper time almost always leave completely won over. The Opera House alone is worth the trip, a stunning modern building that slopes down into the fjord so that you can walk across its roof, looking out over the city and the water. The new Munch Museum, dedicated to the work of Edvard Munch, Norway's most famous artist, is an extraordinary building housing an extraordinary collection. The Viking Ship Museum has 3 of the best preserved Viking ships in the world, and standing next to those ships, knowing they're over 1,000 years old, is genuinely moving. But Oslo is also a city for eating well, drinking great coffee, exploring independent design shops, and cycling along the waterfront. The Aker Brygge and Tjuvholmen areas have transformed what used to be industrial dockland into a vibrant hub of restaurants, galleries, and outdoor spaces. Oslo is expensive, there's no getting around that, but it delivers quality at every turn. And there you have it, top 10 places to visit in Norway. Whether it's the fjords, the northern lights, or those incredible cities, Norway is a country that will absolutely take your breath away. Which one would you visit first? Drop it in the comments, we'd love to know. If you've enjoyed this one, please give it a like, hit subscribe, and we'll see you in the next one. Take care.